So today we're planning to talk about Ecopetrol, an interesting oil and gas company. I'd like to talk in depth and just see what's going on with it and why the price is so low and how it could be interesting. So let's talk about Ecopetrol, the profile. So to begin with, it's an energy company. So as I said before, it was an oil and gas company, and it's divided into four segments. So the exploration and production, transport and logistic, refining, petrochemical and biofuels, and electric power transition, and toll tax concession. So it's quite broad, but very focused still on all the like mining and up to like delivery of the commodities. And one thing to add is that Ecopetrol was incorporated in 1948, so it's quite an old company, and that's the good thing I like about it. It didn't just came out last week. So let's start with the price of Ecopetrol. So at the moment it is at $7.97, but I think the recent close was even lower. So I would say it's a really like the price has been going down for the past like few weeks non-stop, which I found that really intriguing because there were no real bad news coming apart from the oil price dropping a little bit, but not even that much. So one thing that I would like to talk about is first of all the market cap. So as you can see, it's 16 billion. So I tend to like this size. It's quite big, but not that big compared to all those 3 billion or 3 trillion from Apple and all that. That's very little. Another thing I would like to add is the P ratio. So the P ratio is really low. So I believe it might be a little bit higher in the past, like recent quarters, but it's still like really amazingly low. And the dividend yield the same, like it catch your attention. What is going on here? Could be like something wrong, or it could just be that it's hated, and that's what we're here to figure out. Looking at the valuation from Value Finance, we can see that the P ratio at the moment stays around 4, so 4 to 5 for the forward PE. So I would say it's still at the exact same PE than it was for the past year. Moreover, the book is still like 1, so I would say it's a little bit more than I'm used to liking, but it's still really low. And like all the other like valuation, like basically ratios are pretty low as well. Like I mean, like enterprise value to EBITDA at 3, it's quite crazy low. So it's just a confirmation that what's going on, and we need to figure out like in more detail like what it is. So I won't go into too much detail looking at that Yahoo Finance page from Ecopetrol. So the main thing I would like to just show is that the debt is quite high. So like 116% in there. That's like quite high usually. So I wouldn't be put off by that, but I would say that it is something to watch out. The good thing is their leverage free cash flow, it's quite good as well. So I mean like 12 trillion, I think this is so the Colombian currency, so that's why it's a little bit different from the market cap we saw earlier. But as you can see, the leverage free cash flow of 12 trillion is actually not that bad according to the debt. So in maybe less than 10 years the debt would be repaid if the price of oil stays at this current price, and we'll see later that it might help being impacted if the oil price go higher or not. One more thing I'd like to add is the insider, like 0%. That's pretty low, if not nothing. So I'll talk about it a bit later, and that's probably why the price might be lower than most other oil and gas stocks. And finally, the dividend payout ratio. So you can see that this is unsustainable over 100%. Like it might not be as high in the next few quarters unless oil price rise. Looking at the current price since like 2009, we can see that it's pretty much at its lowest, nearly like that is really cheap. So that is a good sign, and I would say that at least we would definitely get share at a discount if we believe that the company will survive. So this is a slide coming from the Ecopetrol presentation that I've found on their website. As you can see, the thing that interests me in that company is just the fact that it's very, very well diversified across pretty much all America. So it's got pretty much like the full process of like deploying, like mining oil, being able to distribute it, be able to like transport it, pipelines, all of that. And on top of that, it's even have like toll roads, like we were saying before. But I found that really good that it's across multiple countries, that is multiple industries, but at the same time still focus on one specific thing, which is mining, and a little extra on infrastructure. So yeah, overall I find it like a big advantage in my opinion, I would say. As you can see, this is the chart of the oil price over the last 10 to 15 years. So Brent crude oil to be specific. So what is interesting, I would say, is that from 2020 to 2023, there's been a big rise. So during that time, Ecopetrol rose a bit, but not that much. And then since then, 2023, it's been going like sideways / downward. So some people over the social media believe that the oil price will actually go back to $30 to $50. I'm not particularly on that camp, but you never know. No one really knows. But all I can say is just that considering the inflationary environment that we're in and the political situation that we're facing, I would really be surprised if it was to go down that low. And I would really believe over the long term that it will start rise again. When, I don't actually know, but I know over the very long term there is a high probability that it will rise. Of course, I'm not like a medium, I cannot really predict anything, but this is my best guess that I can give to you. What I found mainly appealing about Ecopetrol is its dividend. So they've been giving dividend pretty much following the price of oil, and even during the times that the oil price were negative, they would still figure out a way to like give a dividend. I find that quite impressive. So I would say this is to me a big bonus, because like being able to still provide dividend while like the oil market is still like down, found that really appealing. And I would say that the other thing that I see is that the oil price rising impacts directly Ecopetrol dividend. And my take is, if the oil price over the long term decide to rise, Ecopetrol will probably give the equivalent in dividend, and I find that really appealing. So now we're going to talk about the major risk that I see, and I would say they are big risks, like you cannot deny them. One of them is the fact that this stock can only be found in ADR. So ADR stock is like the equivalent of over the counter, and like what I don't like about those is that, like, first of all, you may have to pay some fees just to hold the shares. And then the second thing that I find really scary is, for example, that they have possibility to disappear if there is political issues, like it did happen in Russian stocks in the past. So have to really consider that and still think of it as a really negative side. The second part is the government ownership. So as you can see in that table, the government ownership has nearly 90% of the share. So I found that really, really high, and this is definitely concerning as well. So that wouldn't stop me from being interested, but at the same time, you cannot get a huge exposure on this stock. You have to really be cautious that you may lose the whole bet, and it has to be something to consider. So to conclude, I would say that Ecopetrol is quite a risky stock. You cannot deny it's got some disadvantages, such as the fact that of the ADR and the fact that the government has a huge take. But at the same time, the risk is actually decreasing with the price, the fact that they could give such a wonderful dividend. And I would say that the financials are pretty good. So overall, I would say that this is not for the risk-averse people. I'd say that you cannot just say, I'm going to put 50% of the portfolio in this stock. It's impossible. And I personally am very cautious about this one. But at the same time, I want to say that do your own research, have a look and see what you find. I personally find it interesting, but I like risk, and I accept that with risk come great return or great problems. That's it, and yeah, that's all. So I hope you enjoyed that video, and I'd say if you do, please let me know so I can continue and create more videos about specific companies. Thank you so much.